Right, Don, all set.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I call this Northborough Fire Station Building Committee to order for Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend in person. While an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, this meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological issues interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. The Deputy Chief is here tonight in the Chief's absence, but will not be a voting member. So, the first article we have tonight on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 22nd, 2025 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that the board vote to approve the meeting minutes for the October 22, 2025 meeting as presented.
And before it's seconded, I should mention that Tom Reardon is with us in virtual. So, and.
I will second that
Okay,
about the
thank you.
minutes.
So.
And also that Tom's,
Okay. Tom, you're not hearing?
Can't hear.
Tom can't hear.
Should be able to. It might be, I don't know if he has an issue on the speakers or not.
Are you muted?
Should be able to hear us.
I can't hear the sound.
There you go.
Can you hear us now?
can hear you.
Oh, we're muted,
it
yeah.
shows that we're
Dana, we're
Yeah,
muted,
no, in other words, he should be hearing us.
but it shows meeting one and Dana Volke are both muted.
Oh, no, that, oh, jeez.
So we may need to start from the top.
Oh, that's on. There you go. Sorry about
How
that.
about now?
can you hear us, Tom?
Tom, can you hear us yet?
No, let's try that again, Dana.
The mic's going up and down like it's picking us up.
No, he should be hearing us just fine.
Yes?
Do you hear that, Tom?
Whoa, hey, no.
I can now hear you.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi, Tom.
All
All right.
let's
so
reboot.
We have an approval of the minutes for the October 22nd, 2025 meeting. Your vote, Tom?
Meeting minutes, yes.
Aye.
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 And I. Okay. Got through that.
Got through number one.
Okay, licensed site professional, invoice dated 10/22/2025, discussion and possible vote. Chief?
Thank you. So obviously, I'm not Chief Parenti. He is someplace much warmer than New England right now. So usually, these invoices don't become from the board because the OPM signs off on them and they're processed through our finance director at Town Hall. But this one's a little different. Capital Environmental submitted an invoice for $3,217.50. That's in everybody's packet. This invoice was related to the additional work for the questions about the unsuitable soil, the meetings, his preparation and such. I just want to say that all the questions were valid questions. It was a very good presentation by Mr. Berger and the other members of the committee the last meeting. I believe all the questions were addressed satisfactorily, and, I think it's a good exercise because just all that work really shows, some public trust and some transparency. So it was a good exercise, but unfortunately, obviously, somebody did work, so they got billed. I think it's important to understand that, this is a very large project with a lot of moving parts. And we have a very, very strong oversight by our OPM. The meeting today, they really advocate for the town and really scrutinize every invoice behind the scenes before they even get to the town. So hopefully the taxpayers can sleep well knowing that they're doing a really good job. So back to the invoice from Capital. So the reason it came before the board is because Mr. Berger offered to waive the charges as a kind gesture. He is a town resident. He thought it would be, a good gesture if you waived it. And while, from my opinion and the chief's opinion, it's appreciated based on the state ethics laws and, transparency and trust, it's not appropriate for us to do that. Unless, of course, you want to deduct $4.40 $499.99, what is it, $50? Yeah, if you want to
You get
deduct
under
$50.
50.
If you want to deduct $50, but yeah, so under the state ethics, the town can't accept any gifts greater than $50. So with that, my recommendation is, just not a member of the committee, is that the board vote to pay the invoice rather than waive it.
Any discussion? Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Chief, and I agree with all of your comments and very well stated. This is the first time I saw it on the agenda. I'm looking at it now, and certainly he did, as far as I know, the things that are on here. And I thought it was of good value to the people. What I'd recommend, where I would lean on, since ultimately all bills have to get signed off by Jason and Stephanie anyway,
Yeah.
that we would vote to recommend that they process and pay, subject to, if on legal advice that they may obtain, they find any reason not to, or if they can negotiate any different payment that is compliant with all the ethical laws, that they certainly could do that. Kind of be, I would use it in fewer words, but that's, in other words, we recommend they pay it. Obviously, if they figure out that legally they can negotiate it with him, you know, that, of course, they could do that too.
Yeah, I unfortunately can't really speak to it. I guess that's more of
And
the
I
committee.
guess
But
I'd like to speak to that as far as they know their job, and I don't think we have to tell them if they find something wrong with it, that they can veto it. So I would just like to move it forward and say that we've approved it.
I believe, have you guys, has
Well, we
Colliers
haven't
looked
yet.
at it yet? Okay.
Tom, anything?
I agree with Jacob. I think if we approve it, forward it to the Stephanie, Jason for approval.
Yeah, we just move it forward, which is what we do regularly.
Yes.
Yes.
So do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I would so move what the Deputy Chief stated, that we move to approve this.
I will second that.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Tom?
I approve.
Jason?
Aye.
Aye.
And I. Motion's approved. Construction update.
So I don't know if the committee has had a chance to drive by the site recently, but Captain, your clock tower is at its height.
I see that.
The block is complete at that stair tower as of now. They've begun working on block installation at the elevator pit. Column line 1, which would essentially be the front apparatus bay wall, exterior wall, that is next. I'm sorry, column line 1 is the east elevation. That is what they're continuing on. Making their way back across the front, the apparatus bay doors is being formed for concrete to get ready for steel. The steel delivery is pushed to December 10th. That is the tentative date at this point. And they are continuing with masonry block installation until that point. On or around December 10th, they will start at the administration side of the building, the westmost side of the building for steel, and work their way sort of around the back of the building towards the apparatus bay. The underground plumbing, underground electrical, and drainage are in under what will be the concrete slab. The geothermal lines are going to start being installed on Monday of next week. I'm not sure the duration of that, to be honest with you, but that work will start next week. The mock-up, if you've seen that mock-up wall out on the front of the site, has its wall studs, its sheathing, its air vapor barrier, its insulation, and it's framed for a window opening at this point. The window is due in, I'm not sure when they said the window is due in.
I thought they said next week, but you could be wrong.
Yeah. It may be due next week, but there is some flashing that needs to go on. We're working through the details of that flashing before it's installed. We had some tests done on the mock-up. The air vapor barrier was tested. The bubble gun test was performed yesterday, I believe. So they came back positive. So the installation of the mock-up so far is to everybody's satisfaction, testing and design-wise. I don't think Patrick has come back with any concerns on the mock-up to date. Yeah, that is it.
That's it. Any questions? Okay, hearing
Oh,
none.
just,
Tom's got one, two. Yep.
Tom? Sorry.
So I wanted to ask about the preparations for the cold weather. Now that we're getting below freezing, we're doing underground work, we're getting ready to pour slabs. Are there any precautions we're taking to make sure that frost might damage the current work?
To a certain degree, yes. So the contractor has, at this point, elected to move the flat work to the spring. And in place of the flat work, start erecting steel. They would like to get all of the steel up and in the next several months, and then pour the slabs on the back end of that. They did discuss the opportunity to improve on some of that work if we get what we typically get in New England, which is a bit of a mild winter in late December, as we've been getting the last couple of years. If we see that type of weather, they may fast track the flat work with very little notice. It's kind of a moving target at this moment, but if you were to put a schedule on paper and look ahead, it is anticipated that they will pour the slabs in the spring and get the steel erected this winter. That way, it's minimal involvement in the winter conditions plan. There's a lot less to heat that way.
Yeah, in the block work that's ongoing?
So the block work, we have our, it's not our, but we have the project's material tester on site daily, testing the mortar, the grout, and the block temperatures. So there is a winter conditions plan or requirements in place for the work that can be done, masonry work that can be done. Block has to be at a certain temperature, the water being used has to be at a certain temperature, grout has to be at a certain temperature. So we do have them on site every day, every morning, testing those components to make sure that we adhere to the requirements.
Great, just wanted to hear that.
The long and the short of it is, the block is covered. The work that they do each day is to be covered at the end of each day, and the water is heated that is being used to make their mix.
Okay,
and so related to the winter plan, if they are able to, if we have a mild winter and they are able to do some flat work sometime in December, do they have to add like additional additive to the mix to make it cure better in colder temperatures?
Yeah,
And
there
so
would
that's
be
kind
an additive that they have to consider. It will have to be tested and approved.
Okay. You may not know, but would that be an increase of cost, or is that kind of baked into their estimate? Okay, cool. Another just very maybe simple question. I think I know the answer to it, but there's a lot of people who've asked me, gee, that thing looks like it's a lot closer to the road than it was in my mind. I looked at the plans, I looked at how the distance was in the plans. Obviously, I can't walk on the site to walk it off to see how many feet it is. I did a lot of moving sprinkler lines, hand lines, as a teenager, which you move 60 feet at a time, so I'm pretty good at judging 60 feet increments. It looks about right to me, but I understand a lot of citizens are like, gee, that's closer to the road in my mind than it looks like. If you could just comment on that and making sure that it is where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it is, I think.
Well, they have surveyors who help them lay out the building. Honestly, we don't double check that, but that's really where it's supposed to be, because if they're off there, they're gonna be off in all sorts of different places. So it's, a lot of effort goes into making sure that your starting point, your starting elevation is accurate. All your drainage lines, everything underground impacts that. So we think it's where it's supposed to be, but we haven't gone out there with a tape to verify or anything.
From not being able to walk onto it and just approximating distance, looking at the design, it looks, I mean, I haven't taken a measuring tape, and I'm sure the people have. It's just, I think it's more people are seeing a little bit of an optical illusion since the office is sitting there, and it's harder to visualize what it will look like when it's all done, and the bays are back a bit from the tower as well, which is hard to visualize right now. So I just want, it's a lot of, I'm hearing that comment a lot, and I'm like, I'll ask them, but I'm pretty sure it's where it's supposed to be. That's all.
Anybody else? Okay. On to schedule update.
So in the next couple of weeks, we should expect to see the geothermal well lines to be dug, excavated in, and installed. We have steel expected December 10th, let's call it mid-December. The flashing on the mock-up is to be installed, and we'll start seeing some, I would expect in the next month, we'll start to see some masonry to be installed on the mock-up wall.
Structural steel.
Structural steel will make its way to, yeah.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, question. The geothermal lines, so you're going to be digging 17 additional wells, yes? Or is that just the lines that are going to be coming into?
It's just the lines
It
of
is,
the
okay.
building.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yep.
All right, financial update and proposed change orders discussion.
Should, I suppose, start with the change order? Does that make sense?
Sure.
We do have a change order to present to the committee. It is inclusive of a handful of proposed change orders. I suppose we'll take them in order.
Well, yeah, just before Todd gets into it, they're really fall under two categories. The first category is for structural fill that has to go back in. We've talked a lot about unsuitable soils, and so this is for the structural fill that's required to go back in, to build, to make it suitable to build on. The other category is for additional handling of material. So when we had Capital Environmental before the group, there was discussion about his testing process, and we were fortunate that on the majority of the material that was removed, we were able to load it right into Capital Environmental's trucks and take it away. But on some cases, we had situations where material was stockpiled, was removed from the area where it was excavated, but then stockpiled on site and waiting until we can get analysis back from Capital Environmental, just to make sure of where we should be sending it. And so there was an additional handling of that material to then load it, to handle it a second time, to load it into a truck and dispose of it. So that's where you'll see the other category of costs that are included in this change. Does that make sense?
So the change order the change order I have for you is sort of presented inclusively of both of those types of change orders. But it is broken out so that you can see it, each cost is separate, and then it totals one complete change order. So we originally had a change order for structural fill for $102,458. We had a second structural fill change order for $59,303, totaling $161, I had the number somewhere.
Roughly
It's-
$161,000. We went back and questioned where they came up with this, and we had a heat map generated for the elevations that they started with and how they calculated it. We went through a lot of back and forth, and ultimately last week, we sat down with them and we came to an agreement in the amount of
Well,
the structural fill portion.
it is now, from 161,000, we've agreed to pay $98,184.63.
9,000, what?
98,184.63
Well,
Just about half, Is that what you kind of came to?
A little higher than half.
Little,
161 to 98. Yeah, it's about, I think we came up around 57%.
Yeah, the contractor originally was claiming, their position was that we didn't have enough borings or to really tell them how much they had to dig, and so they were unsure of what to include in their bid. And we, pointed out what we saw in the documents and what we thought that we were entitled to. And we did agree to essentially pay for anything that was deeper than the boring showed. So if there was material, they dug down as far as the boring showed, and the material still wasn't adequate in that area, and they had to dig down another foot or two, then that was legitimately an extra cost to them. And so that's really where kind of that negotiation hinged on those limits and those lines. So within the building, there was a certain boring that showed a certain elevation. Outside the building in the apron area, it showed a different elevation. And so that's kind of where we, built our discussion around and ultimately came to this, this amount.
So, being clear, this isn't all about contaminated soil, this is just unsuitable soil,
It really has to do with,
both.
no, this is actually about structural fill. So no matter what type of soil it was, if it wasn't structural to hold the building, it needed to be replaced. And whether it was contaminated, whether it was just fill from when they built, leveled that site way back when, there was some chunks of asphalt in it, there was just debris, there was just some organic material. So it really was just not suitable to build a building on. You'd worry about differential settlement, cracks within the foundation, cracks within the walls, driveway settling. So you really need to make sure that you're building on a base that is that you can count on, essentially, and that's really what that came down to.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any questions?
Just, I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm just going with what you said. So you said there were two categories. One was the structural fill and one was the additional handling. I assume it's Leighton doing the handling, whoever's name's on the excavators. I don't know.
Oh,
Leahy.
yeah, Leahy.
Oh, Leahy. Yeah, I'm sorry, Leahy. And they're, not that it matter, like, let's pay whoever we're owed to. I'm just trying to keep track of who's being owed what.
Yeah.
Leahy's doing the handling. Are they also providing the fill, or is that a different?
Yes.
Okay, great. And so is the original amount of 161 that was, looks like happily by you guys negotiated down to around 98,000 something, is that for all in for those two categories so far, or is that just the fill part?
Yeah, I mean, there's really separate issues. They're just combined because they combine different price proposals into a single change order, which changes the value of the contract. But these price proposals are separate items. One is for structural fill. One is for handling of contaminated soils. So digging it out, we said that, hey, you guys own digging it out. But what they didn't own, and we couldn't place a number on, or any way identify it.
The
during
staging,
bidding,
the extra time to
is
stage
the
it,
extra staging.
and then
cost.
needing to move it again
Yes,
because,
and then Capital Environmental is actually one who trucked it,
right.
and so we paid them separately.
Under-
So there's multiple parties involved in the same,
Got it. So I'm just trying to figure out the 98, if I wrote down the number wrong, I'm sorry, around 98,000 and something. That covers which parts?
that's just the structural fill. So the structural fill, there was originally two proposals. They added up to 161,000. We negotiated it to that 98, and so they just gave us one revised number, 98, and we're done. There's, I don't know how many other proposal requests in
Yep.
there. I think there's three.
Three other
For
proposed
the
change
double
requests.
handling at
Got it.
different times.
Okay, so if I can ask you one more question about the 98. So I think it's probably clear based on how you presented it, but it sounds like if the town you know, we send it up to Jason and Stephanie, they sign off and they pay the 98,184. We're comfortable that they're saying this is sort of a resolution of the dispute about the 161. They're not gonna send us another bill for the 61, 62 remaining. This is like good faith negotiation as anyone does, right?
Yeah, once they sign the change,
Okay.
that
Great.
seals.
Well, sorry, throwing my pen at you. Well, thank you for, you know, I think that that's a great value that you do lots of valuable things for the project, but one of them is obviously when there's an area like this where there's a maybe dispute about what's within the scope of the contract, and they have an argument for why it might not be, that two parties get together, and it looks like you did a good job for the town to save us 60, 70, somewhere in that range, thousand, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I understood the things that you explained. So then, did you have a separate number that we're gonna approve today for the
Yeah,
additional
why don't you
handling?
just read off those four numbers, or those
Yep.
three numbers, but essentially, it's about $38,000, but you can read
Right.
off the individual.
So we have one for $18,851.45. We have a second for $12,343.21. And the third is for $8,079.19.
So the total of those three, plus the 98 is,
$137,458.48. That's the total change order for the
Can you give us that
structural
number
fill.
again?
Yep,
137?
137,458.48 is the total value of this change order, which encompasses the extra handling of contaminated material and the structural fill that they owned and we negotiated.
yeah, I'll point out too that Scott Charpentier and the chief were involved in those negotiations. So they were present and fully involved and up to speed on all that.
And the other one, for a couple of weeks, you guys went back and forth, right?
Oh, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it wasn't a quick, there was a lot of negotiation and pointing out and calling out and fact checking, so, yeah, it was a process, but,
The engineer was heavily involved as well. Yep, they attended every meeting and
yeah, I would say, you know,
Gave their opinion and-
to Jacob's point, you know, I mean, that's why we have an OPM, and we're very lucky to have a good OPM, because some projects, they kind of, or they're friends with the builders, and
Yeah, no.
you know, so, yeah, I think that's, Jacob put it well, that you guys are doing it.
Yeah, we're here to represent you. We treat it as if it's our own money, our own project. But obviously, we bring it to you, and, you know, I didn't go into these negotiations expecting that I could speak for the town. So that's why we brought in Chief, we brought in Scott, we talked about it, made sure that going in, we kind of were on the same page, so that when we did get there, you know, we would have a consensus and hopefully be able to resolve it that day, and that was, I guess, last Friday.
Okay.
If I just may, so, I mean, my comment on the total amount, I think it's, we all know why this stuff needed to be done. We won't rehash the last couple of meetings where we've learned, and it's all been said over and over. I think the amount is reasonable, as far as I can tell, and we've done a diligent job of trying to push back a little bit so that the town's not, just so the town's protected. So I do think for the scope of what's been described, that's reasonable, so I would be supportive of this. The one question, another question I have, the proposed or potential change order list, I always get concerned about, there's a bunch with no descriptions. And I always question, what is that? And what's coming down? And because I know that it's premature to get too worried about it, because y'all are in the process of negotiating them, and some of them may not mature, and sometimes you may convince them it's part of their scope and whatnot. So are any of the ones that are still on the list with no description more like this, do you know? Or it'd be nice if we could get descriptions. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think the description issue is the way that the software that the contractor uses, that is spitting out that numerical description, which is the proposal request number or the proposed change order PCO number, and it frustrates me too that I have to, I don't remember what PR 7 was versus PR 9, so I have to go back and forth too. So we can ask them to change that, so that gives a little bit of just a verbal description. We have our own tracking, because we want to know what's, not necessarily what is out there from a proposal request or a proposed change, but anything that we see on the site that might have a financial impact that we see, we'll just put it on our exposure log. And so we write up a little description of it. So we do have a number of things that may or may not become reality that we're tracking. And certainly anything that's been formalized in a proposal request, we'll put a WAG just as a placeholder until we get some more definitive information.
I don't know what WAG means.
It's a wild estimate. Football term. Okay. It's a football term.
I'm glad you asked.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're referring, the chief sends out the PCO log that the contractor provides us ahead of the weekly meeting. And follow-up to the weekly meeting, the chief sends out a copy of that PCO log, which is generated by Procore, the contractor's document host.
Just if there's
Yeah,
any way,
so-
without causing too much
Yeah, I
headache
know.
for anyone, to get a little more detail about what may be in the pipeline.
Yep.
I'm just looking at those, I'm like, no idea what that is.
Right, it has a lot of abbreviations, it's contractor lingo, it's very, yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard
and
to
it forces us to go back and forth from page to page too. So it's, you know, I think at the last meeting when we were talking about change orders and we were looking at what the document that the contractor had provided us, they used a lot of those numbers without the description. So it made it a little, we kind of looked like we were lost, but it was just about going back and forth. We were at a point now where we haven't had that many, so we can still keep track of things for the most part. But, yeah, I agree with you. I would like to see more. So we'll ask them to make that change.
That'd be great.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
What's this PCO number? What do we call
This
it?
would be change order number 5.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee vote to recommend that the town accept change order number 5.
Do I hear a second?
Is that for the 137, or is that for the 90?
It's
The
both,
137.
it's full 137.
I'll second that.
Yeah, sorry, just for clarification, for 137,458.48 in relation to structural fill and additional material handling.
I will second that.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Tom?
Approve?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So when we formulate this and circulate the formal change order, it will include the backup.
Okay. Review and approve commissioning agent proposals.
Okay, so, I don't know if I was able to, I don't know if we had these dates as of our last meeting a month ago, but Tim and I put together a request for proposal for commissioning services to commission the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing portion of this project. That scope of work, or that request for proposals, went out on November 4th. We gave a week to those firms to get their questions in, and we gave them a date of November 14th, so I guess that would have been Friday of last week, to get their proposals into us. So we had a scope of services put together, issued it to 3 firms that we have had experience with on previous jobs, and asked for their proposals back based on that scope of services. And so on Friday, I got all 3 proposals back, and I have a breakdown for you to present to you to provide those commissioning services to the project. The 3 firms were Colliers, has a commissioning sort of department or its own, Colliers has its own commissioning services that works under the Colliers umbrella, and we can reach out to them when needed, but they are their own entity. So we asked them for a price based on that scope of services. We also reached out to a company, FST Technical Services. And the third one is Nexus Consulting Services. So they all had the same scope of services to put their price together from. And so the three prices came back. Colliers came in at $47,979. FST Technical came in at $50,371. And Nexus Consulting came in at $65,840. I believe that request for proposal went to the building committee last month as part of the chief's wrap-up. If that is not the case, please let me know, and we can get that scope of services out to you, but
I don't think we got it.
Reading the room, I don't think anybody got it.
I remember, I know this topic has been mentioned prior to today, so I don't remember reading what the scope was, but I remember it being mentioned. That's all. It'd be nice to know what the scope is. Can I just ask a
Yeah, sure.
question?
Yeah.
This is this the services that are estimated under building commission in our budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have on our proposed project budget and approved budget, $135,000 for building commissioning, which up till now is planned but not contracted. So far, so good?
Yes.
So like hypothetically, let's say we voted to approve to proceed with Colliers, 48,000-ish. Are we looking at, there's still more to go within that 135, or did we just save $80,000 off of our budget?
I think it would be safe to say that you saved $85,000, but we have a testing component.
Sure. Plus any unknowns.
Yeah, so this is for attending meetings, reviewing work in the field, reviewing submittals, those types of, and then it's the spot checking, once the building is constructed, being there for system startup. And then we would do the MEP testing, so putting a hood over the air vent to see how many CFM, how many cubic feet per minute are coming through, and just all those verifications. The things that aren't included in this is really what we intend to have the material tester doing, which is the testing of the AVB on the outside of the building, the window testing, so you typically do a chamber vacuum test, air and water infiltration test on the windows. So some of those are still commissioning, but they're done by an outside testing agency. So we do have a line item for material testing. And so if we needed to dip into the savings for the commissioning, the 135,000, so that 80, whatever it is, thousand as a remaining, if we needed to dip into that, to take care of some of those additional tests, we could.
You got headway. Yep.
You know, one of the tests that is, it used to be optional, and honestly, I don't know if a full building blower, it is required now. So that's a pretty expensive, comprehensive test. So that is something that we may not even be able to do with our material tester. We may have to reach out to somebody else for that service. So there, for the person who's doing the testing and reviewing and generating the report, that's covered. It's just if there's some field work that needs to be done, that would be the additional. Very long-winded way.
Tom?
Is there some overlap with the commissioning and the requirements for the TEDI energy analysis?
The TEDI is a little bit different, but what Tim was just talking about, the whole building blower test, that's a requirement of the building code. So it's a requirement of the energy code. So that, it's a little separate from the TEDI, but yeah, it's something we need to do.
So if you have a blower door test and you have duct testing that's required by TEDI, are these additional costs above and beyond this commissioning?
I would, yeah.
The commissioning agent will witness those, but we'll need to hire somebody to actually do the test.
Correct.
Okay,
And so what we've been doing to date for the mock-up has been with our materials tester.
and the testing of the different systems, would that be covered by the commissioning
Commissioning would be testing all the MEP systems.
and sprinkler? Fire alarm?
They typically do not review, I don't believe they review fire alarm, I'd have to double check that.
The fire department reviews that.
And sprinkler system, I don't know that they would test, other than maybe some interconnection of the notifications that you have a flow or something along that. I don't know that they, I'd have to verify what's included in that proposal.
Yeah, I'd have to say, from the fire prevention side of the house, whenever they install it, they gotta, they certify it themselves with the NFPA 72 and 74 flow test, and then it's witnessed. We, just to keep ourselves out of it, the state fire marshal is doing the plan reviews for all the fire protection for this, and they're liaison with us. So, obviously, like any building, we go out as the fire department, we have to witness testing, but we go obviously by the engineer, because we're not fire protection engineers, the stamp drawings and the documentation. So there's not really a commissioning, it's just a test process that they do.
So we should anticipate some additional charges for the systems that fall outside the normal scope.
If they're not owned by the contractor to provide that test information, and often, a lot of times those items are the requirement for them to certify or have certified, are part of the specifications.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
I guess just my only comment is, maybe goes without saying, but piggybacking on Mr. Reardon's comment, if we have to set up the whole thing to do the window testing for one purpose, and it also would need to be done for the other purpose, if we could try to have both done at the same time. I understand Teddy isn't quite overlapping with the other analysis, but it's a lot of work to do it, all that.
Yeah, I mean, the Teddy was calculations that we had
So we
to,
don't have to do that again?
yeah, the Teddy's done.
Okay, okay, perfect, all right.
Okay.
So do we have to have a motion?
We have
for
to have
that?
a motion to accept Colliers as our commissioner.
Yeah, so I take it based on the price, they're recommending to go with the lowest priced one, right?
I'm just gonna add, sorry.
Yeah.
Before we get, just because someone's gonna ask. So it's both Colliers. There's no ethical issue with the company and the bidding, right?
No, and actually, we received everything electronically. So because we knew this might come up as an issue, we asked our commissioning people to give us a price before we even reached out to the other two firms, so that we would have that in hand. It's date stamped in an email. So the other firms came in afterwards, because it obviously, you're like, hey, you're giving yourself a job, you're giving, yes. And as far as ethical of the project, no, there's no issue there. It's,
You figure somebody's gonna ask. I asked.
yeah, no, it's a legitimate question.
And
And obviously you knew, because I'm not surprised you did it the way you did.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to avoid any kind of hint of impropriety, that's why we did it.
And I would assume this is not the first project that this has happened.
No, not at all. Honestly, being able to call the person in our office and say, hey, we're having this issue, can you come out on Tuesday, is very helpful, because there is a lot, when you see the scope of work, commissioning services it's a commodity. Everybody's trying to get the job, so that there's not a lot of money to be made in that field, because they're all trying to undercut one another. So having that ability where we can call them, and even though they say in their proposal that, well, I only own 6 meetings, well, we're still having an issue, I need you here, we'll be more likely to get our people here than somebody else.
Okay, do I
Yeah.
hear a motion?
I would like to move, I can see, in addition to the price being the lowest of the three bidders, in addition to the information as represented that the scope was identical for the three, and in addition to, my gut instinct is there's probably some efficiencies, maybe intangible, but some efficiencies like were just mentioned in having it under the same roof, so to speak. So I would be in favor and would like to move that the board vote to approve Collier's Commissioning Department as the commissioning agent as described. Does that work?
And I will second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Tom?
Yes?
Jacob?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on to the next. Public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Lisa?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. I came in because I watched the meeting the October 22nd meeting, and toward the end of the meeting, the chief had made a statement that I needed to come in and talk about because it was a little bit erroneous, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be in the minutes. I tried to find the minutes for the 22nd that you agreed to tonight, but I couldn't find them to know what's in the minutes. So I felt I had to come and at least talk about what the question was, to bring it to everybody's attention. He made a statement at the 47.59 mark and said, and they all voted 100% to put it on to go forward with the project at that time. And that was talking about the actual fire station project itself. That meeting that the select board was at, which I was a member of at that time, was voting on, to vote to place the ballot question on the November 5th state election ballot. It wasn't to support anything other than put it on the ballot, and we all agreed to put it on the ballot. So I think it's important to make the distinction between putting it on the ballot and supporting the entire project with all of the Board of Selectmen, because I was definitely one that was not in support of what was happening. And I think that that's kind of an important thing to bring in. The other thing he also mentioned is that he talks about the hour of 2 hour and 44 minute and what was being discussed at that time. It was not, again, talking about getting reports. It was asking questions. And I do have the conversation here, but I don't know that that's important. What I'm trying to do is just make sure that whatever's in the minutes is correct in its accuracy. So, again, not knowing what is actually in those minutes that you agreed to, I assume,
We did agree.
before I got here, that somebody can double check on that, or at the very least, put my remarks for tonight in the next minutes.
Okay, noted.
Thank you.
We have that for Sarah. Okay, establish our first future meeting date, December 18th, 2025. December 18th, everybody?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Motion to adjourn.
Can I just add?
Oh, yeah,
Real-
sorry.
No.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Tom.
one more item.
Yeah,
I'd like to see if we could move the meeting dates off of the third Wednesday. I have a continuing conflict with the Northborough Historic District Commission, which I am also on. So after this meeting, I'm going to another Zoom meeting. But it'd be nice if we could move off the third Wednesday, starting in January.
works for me, but
Maybe January 21st, third Wednesday.
you want to change the Wednesday meetings or the third Wednesday?
Either the second or the fourth, or go to a Tuesday or a Thursday. For the next 12 months, I'm going to have a conflict.
So I think
Um,
your meetings are on Wednesday?
Wednesday, the third Wednesday of the month, at 7 PM.
All right, how about if we put this forward for our December meeting,
That'd be great.
so that we can discuss it with the
The
chief here?
fourth works. But we can talk about it next.
I thought we had been meeting on the 4th, but it was just because the 4th fell on Thanksgiving and fell on Christmas Eve,
That's
that in
right.
November and December, we shifted them.
We've been on the 4th. It's only these two meetings because of the two holidays. So in January, we'll go back to the 4th?
Great.
Okay.
That what works for me.
Well,
Because that was the way it was supposed to be, but these two meetings, you're right, were changed because of the holidays. Okay, any other business to come before the board?
I'm going to skip that other thing, but since I got everybody here real quick, and we brought up the fire protection stuff, and I just reminded myself, we had sent the fire marshal's comments back, so are they working on the responses for those?
Yeah, we
Okay.
passed them on to the engineers.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, no other business to come before the board? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Just one other, just quick item. So we had, just it would be great if in the future we have an agenda item that has something like this to approve. If it could be provided the materials, that would be great. Just so we're not seeing something on the first.
I would agree, I don't know how that.
Yeah. Anyway,
but-
just food for thought for the future.
I'm only here for one time.
I understand.
Well,
Great job.
at the time. Motion to adjourn.
So moved?
I'll second that, yes.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Tom?
Yes, please.
Jacob?
Aye.
Dan? John? Aye. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for subbing.
Yeah.